What's up guys? I got some questions from my previous Gemlink Twink leveling video on whether leveling as a stat stacker is viable for a witch, and TLDR, yes it is. If you haven't watched that video, I'll link it in the description below. So why stat stacking? Because it's currently the strongest and fastest way to level a new character. I've tried leveling with Spark and other spells with Twink gears, but it doesn't come close to the stat stacking setup. And the crazy part is that it's not even that expensive to get going. Now, just to reiterate for newer players out there, this is a Twink leveling guide, which means that you do need some currency to get started. I estimate no more than 2 divines, and this includes getting yourself a pair of Hand of Wisdom in action, which is about 150 exalts to 1 divine depending on the rolls. Without it, you can easily get going with less than 1 divine. So, starting out as a witch, we don't get access to the powerful attribute wheel at the bottom, but we are close to the monk starting area with some powerful nodes. We're also close to resonance, which will allow us to run charge staff sooner, and that is very powerful. More importantly, it really doesn't matter where you start on the tree, because as a stat stacker, we're grabbing 90% attribute nodes and we're shredding everything in our way. So if you're building a blood mage like I am, it will be a little more challenging to level because your first ascendancy node is essentially useless. And this is where stat stacking shines, because you don't care about your ascendancy until you complete the campaign. So the plan is, once I complete the campaign and reach around level 70 plus, I'll get all my ascendancy, or rather my 6 ascendancy points together and make the switch to my actual build. And stat stacking will carry easily all the way till then. Now in this video, I'm going to go over gearing, gem setups, and passive tree progression, and everything you need to know to level as a stat stacking witch, so stay tuned. Alright, so before we get started here, I've been getting a lot of questions on what MTX am I using for my weapon. So this is the Scourge MTX from Path of Exile 1. I'm not sure if you're able to buy this, but it's called the Scourge Weapon Skin. So that is what it looks like. Alright, so jumping into the video, this character has just finished the campaign, level 63 Blood Mage. This is what my stats look like currently. 285 strength, dexterity and int, pretty balanced. Resistance are not capped just because I haven't bought any gear yet. So the first thing that I want to go over is the gearing. That is by far the most important in my opinion. Now, what are the crucial pieces that you need? So here I have lined everything up. Starting with the weapon. So this build revolves around Pillar of the Cage God, and I would get a corrupted one if you can, with either lightning damage or cold damage, and you would put in either the lightning runes or the cold runes. That's up to you. So this is the most important piece for this leveling setup. Next would be Fox Shade, which is what I use throughout the entire campaign. I think it's the best in slot piece here because it gives you flat 30 dexterity and also movement speed, which we do lack in this game. Now the next piece is Meganaut's Girdle, also a piece you use from level 1 all the way through the campaign. So these 3 pieces here you don't have to switch out. Now for Meganauts, I would get one with as high strength as possible. I think you can get a 45 plus for less than 5 exalts, so it's really cheap, and I would definitely prioritize a high strength roll here. Alright, now for the other pieces, we do switch them out. So starting with the helmet, when you start off as a witch, you will not have enough dexterity to equip the Fox Shade. So I would slap on a Wings of Kaelin here just to get the dexterity on there. And then once you have that on, you can equip your Fox Shade, which will give you the dexterity requirement, and then you can remove the helm. That's how you put on Fox Shade at level 2. And then next thing you would do is I would use this Horns of Biden at level 1, which gives you some strength. It's very nice. And then we swap to a Grey Make at level 5. Try to get as much attributes as you can without breaking the budget here. And then finally at level 27 we switch to a Thrill Steel for Onslaught. And then eventually at level 52 I replaced it with a rare helm with life, intelligence, and dual res. This cost me like 15 exalts, I think. It's really cheap. You can also ignore the intelligence and just get another resistance roll if you like. Alright, so that's the helmet. And then for the glove, you can use this from level 1, North Paw, which gives you some nice physical damage to attacks. And then we swap out to a rare glove with more physical damage to attacks at level 28. Before finally using Hoa at level 52. Now, one thing I want to stress in this video, and I mentioned this in my previous video as well, is that when you're leveling with Pillar of the Cage God before Hoa, you do want to get as much flat damage on your gloves and your rings as possible. So as you can see here, we have flat damage on both our gloves. And then for our rings, we start off with Blackheart because they give us flat chaos damage to attacks and physical damage to attacks. And you want to keep upgrading this as you go. So at level 28, which is when I think you should make the next upgrade because your damage starts to fall off, you want to prioritize physical and either cold or lightning damage to attacks on these rings here. And then the next breakpoint is around level 40, which is when I swap to, as you can see here, higher physical and higher cold damage. These are the most important nodes. Prioritize them over attributes. And then finally, at level 52, when I'm able to equip Hoa, that's when I switch and I start getting attributes on my rings instead. So strength, intelligence, life if you need to. Same here, life, strength, intelligence, resistances. So prior to Hoa, prioritize flat damage, and once you have equipped Hoa, then you start getting attributes. Alright, for boots, we start off with Luminous Pace at level 1 for the 10% movement speed. And then at level 11, you can put on Briar Patch with a maximum roll of 20% movement speed, which is very nice. And then finally at level 56, I replaced it with a rare boots with more movement speed, life, intelligence, and dual res. And for the amulet, before level 8, I would just use any amulet that you can buy from the gambler or anything that gives you some strength, some dexterity. Anything will do. At level 8, it's nice to use a Carnage Heart. This is a little pricey, however, I would get one with the prioritizing the all attributes. You don't really care about elemental resistances that early on, so just prioritize that. And then eventually I would replace it with something like this, where it gives you at least 30 spirit. That will allow you to run an extra herald, which is very nice for clearing. And then just strength and dexterity. And that's about it, I believe. I cover everything here. So these are the key upgrades that I would do. Again, rings are very important to sequentially upgrade them as you progress through the campaign. Now, next is gems. So our gem setup, we first start off with leveling with Falling Thunder, as you can see in the clips earlier. So let me just grab him here. So if you look at the quarterstaff, we start off with Falling Thunder and Glacial Cascade. Those are the two skills we start with. And then once you're able to use your bell, you start using your bell with Falling Thunder. And then finally, Ice Strike is the skill that we're going to start using for most of our campaign before we switch over to Storm Wave. So Ice Strike will carry you all the way until you unlock Storm Wave. That's when you remove Ice Strike and you just use Storm Wave and Tempest Flurry. These will be your lightning skills moving forward. And then you unlock Charge Staff, which you will use as well, along with Resonance to get you the nice extra damage. And then finally, Hand of Chayula, which is a curse for single target. So this is what the gem setup is. I have Tempest Flurry linked to Crescendo, Close Combat, and Rage. This is a single target for hitting the bell. Storm Wave is for clear, linked to Upheaval, Martial Tempo, Primal Armament, and Longshot. Tempest Bell linked to Conk Effect, Overabundance, and Rising Tempest. And then Herald of Ice and Herald of Thunder, we're using the infusion setups here that allow us to clear a lot better, where we link lightning infusion to Herald of Ice, with conduction to shock, magnified effect, and innervate. And Herald of Thunder is linked to cold infusion, glaciation, and ice bite. So this is mainly a clear setup. And then charge staff is very important, linked to persistence, lightning exposure, and strip away. Combat frenzy for frenzy charges, which gets converted to power charge. And finally, Hand of Chayula for single target, linked to conductivity and heightened curse. Alright, so that is the setup. And then finally, the passive tree. This is what it looks like. I'll include a link for the entire tree below as well. But basically, we start off here. We're going to go up grabbing strength only as we start. Only strength is sufficient. And then we'll grab this here, pure energy, for the nice 10 intelligence. And then once we get here, we want to focus on actually moving outwards first to grab tenfold attacks. This is the priority because it gives you nice attack speed and some strength. And then once you have that, then you would grab Essence of the Storm here and also Essence of the Mountain. These gives you some nice damage. And then finally, I would also grab Step Like Mist for 5 dexterity and intelligence, and also Flow Like Water. So as you can see here, these nodes are very powerful as you start off. And then we're going to move downward here towards this wheel here to get attack speed and dexterity here. Skipping this for now, and eventually we're going to start moving out here to grab Martial Artistry for 25 dex and some nice accuracy and crit damage bonus. And then once you're able to equip 2 heralds, I would grab Calming Calamity here. And then as you get into Cruel, which is Act 4, 5, I would grab these nodes here because they give you some nice penetration. And then start moving upwards here. So, oh, and you should already have Resonance around Act 3 when you can equip Charge Staff. And then start moving up here to grab Wildstorm. And just at this point, you should already have Hoa. So once you've equipped Hoa, you want to start grabbing Intelligence. And moving all the way up here, grabbing this finally. And again, this is what the stats look like. You want to get a decent amount of strength. I would say at least 250 and above. Dexterity is not that important. I have a little more dexterity than I need to. I would actually put them into intelligence to get over 300 if I had to respec it. Okay, so that is the build, and hopefully I covered everything here. Again, this should carry you all the way through easily. And with a Blood Mage, again, as you can see, I have not got my Ascendancy notes because this node is essentially useless. So I'm waiting to level up sufficiently where I can clear the first 3 laps so I can get all the way to Sunder the Flesh. And at that point, I should be about level 70, which then I will swap over to my actual build. And I'll post an update on that in the next video. Alright, so that is it. Hopefully this video helps you out. Again, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below and I'll try my best to answer them. And yep, enjoy!